Yo, what up guys? Today I have another compilation video for you all of the things that you should know but maybe you didn't videos. I recently did a compilation of all of the videos where we went around giving money to free-to-play noobs, and you guys seem to really like it and appreciate it in that format. So I figured throwing all these into one long video as well would be something you guys might like. I'm going to edit it as best I can so that it flows nicely, but you may hear me say like number one, number two, number one, number two every now and again, as of course these are a mashed up video, and in those videos I went from 1 to 5, but I'll edit it to the best I can to make it flow nicely. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, leave a like, sub to the channel if you're new, and well, enjoy the long form video. Today we're back with some more things that you should already know about RuneScape, but maybe you didn't, and if you didn't, you'll benefit from knowing them. You guys enjoy these videos, I enjoy making them, they're nice and easy, and they're super fun to research because I also learn things as well. So let's go. So first up is a thing that came to mind when I was actually making the aura video for the Equilibrium aura with necromancy. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But I mentioned in there that the way that aura cooldowns work is when you activate an aura, if it says it has a 4-hour cooldown, but it lasts an hour duration for the aura anyway, you technically only have a 3-hour downtime. This means that the 4-hour cooldown starts immediately. Whenever you activate an aura, its cooldown is started from the second that you activate it. So you only have the downtime of the actual cooldown duration minus the time that you have the aura available for. That being said, this actually can work in your favor very nicely from the fact that if you log out or if you lobby, auras are put on pause, but the cooldowns aren't. This means that if you are about to log off for the night, for example, you've been on, you've PVM'd, you've done all your things, and you are like, okay, time to hop off. Or maybe you just haven't played yet today and you want to log on in the morning, activate the aura that you plan on using when you next play, and then log off. This way, when you log back in, the aura will still be active and available for use immediately, but whenever that aura is done, you'll be able to go ahead and use it again straight away because the aura would have cooled down, assuming that you were off for the amount of time that the cooldown is. This can save you a ton of aura resets if you're someone who maybe uses a reset for like maniacal all the time, or like berserk aura, reckless aura, all of that sort of stuff, whatever aura reset it is. However, it's also worth noting that the Madra aura, which is a very commonly used aura for necromancy, is reset at midnight game time. So whenever the game does its daily reset, that's when Madra resets as well. Meaning that if you are at, like, I don't know, just before midnight, you could activate this, and then as soon as it resets over, it'll be available again to use as soon as it ends. RuneScape Mobile makes this super easy to actually take advantage of. Say if you're on your way to work in the morning, you just hop on your phone and you activate like whatever aura you plan on using later that night when you get home, and then when you get home, it's still there and it's available to use again straight after. So maybe install RuneScape Mobile if you don't have it already. Something a lot of people struggle with and absolutely should know about is what familiar to use where. Well, to help you make that decision, it's worth knowing that some bosses in the game actually can't take familiar damage. So, for example, Nex and Araxi cannot take any familiar damage at all. Absolutely zero. You will not be able to do any damage to them with your familiar whatsoever. So in places like this, it is advised usually to bring something that either boosts your accuracy if you're not already at 100%, but if you are, then to use something that has another passive effect on the familiar. For example, you could maybe bring along like a Reaver for healing, of course, or you could use a Hellhound for the extra tanking, or you could use something like a Ripper Demon with no scrolls in it, which obviously the scrolls would be fully wasted because it will do no damage, but the Ripper Demon gives you a passive damage increase as well. You could use a Calgarian Demon instead of all the other ones to boost your crit rate, which is probably the most popular option, or you could use a Nihil like I said earlier if you aren't at 100% accuracy. Araxi and Nex are both places where using Nihils are actually super useful because you're not often at 100% accuracy, so it is something that you would probably want to take advantage of. Other bosses where this is true as well are the necromancy only bosses. This, for example, is Raziel and Hermod, and I guess the new Rex Matriarch as well. These guys can only take necromancy damage, meaning the high-end DPS familiars like Ripper Demon aren't going to be doing as much as you would probably like them to. That's why things like Reaver are super useful here, and other options at different places as well. As of right now, those are like the only bosses in the game you need to consider this, really. But if you're ever curious, just look up the boss on the RuneScape wiki, and on the right-hand side, it'll actually say whether it's immune to familiar damage or not. You can also find in the same bit whether immune to poison, all that sort of stuff too. This is one that I get told about many times on pretty much every single stream, is that, hey, in it, you know, you can actually load your bank presets with the F keys and you don't have to keep clicking them. You can just press them. And a lot of people are going to go, wait, what? You can just press the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And in fact, I think that only works up to number 3, and then number 4 will actually like bank your one equipment or something. But if you press F1 up to F9, you can actually take out any of the bank presets that are shown there that correspond with those keys. So it's a nice quick way to load them. You don't have to like shift them in the actual list to make them available on 1, 2, and 3. You can use the F keys instead. Pretty useful for skilling, or if you're going to a certain boss to save a little bit of time. But then again, once you've already loaded your preset, I suppose you could use the load last preset option on whatever bank interface you're using in the first place. Now I'm going to say this, I've mentioned this before and I'm going to mention it again. It's because no matter what, how many times I say this, people are always going to benefit from this every single time. And that is, whenever you PVM, if you're trying to kill a decent level boss, please, for the love of Saradomin or Guthix or whatever boss you choose, use vulnerability bombs and use adrenaline potions. These are making a way bigger difference than you realize. I promise you this. The amount of times I explain to people that, hey, let's have a look at your preset for a boss, and then I notice that they don't have all these little things that give you bonuses for very, very little effort, and then they go and try it after I say to them, please use this. They come back to me and go, holy crap, I actually just saved like a minute on my kill time. What the frick? It can make a hell of a lot of difference. So do it. Use your vuln bombs, use scrolls on your familiars, use weapon poisons, use adrenaline potions, all of this sort of stuff that take a little, like very, very little extra effort, sometimes zero effort, gonna make a world of difference. I'm just gonna quickly interrupt this very, very long video just to remind you guys, if you haven't clicked the sub button, it would help the channel out a ton. Over 60% of you guys that are watching all the videos currently aren't subbed to the channel, and that will make a massive difference overall. And also, if you really do enjoy all the videos and wouldn't mind some extra content while supporting the channel and getting some content that I wouldn't actually post onto the main channel too, there is a link in the description to my Patreon. You can get some regular content here. There'll be many different things, from like full new videos or reaction videos or clips and many other things as well. So if you're interested, please do go check it out. Okay, now let's get back to the video. Here's one that you should know, but maybe returning players, if you just rejoined the game in like the last month or two, maybe you didn't know about this. And that is that you can now actually shift left click and drop items from your inventory super quick. You have to enable this in settings. You'll be able to see where to do that on screen right now, but you can just enable this, and then just like in old school RuneScape, you can now put your mouse over anything in your inventory, hold your shift button and left click that item, and it'll be dropped to the floor for you. Here's another one about dropping items. Did you know if you're trying to clean your bank out, you can just drag the item from the bank to the outside space rather than like put it in your inventory, then close the bank, then drop everything? You can just drag it and it'll ask if you want to destroy it. This can save you a lot of time when cleaning your bank. I didn't know this for a while. Someone showed me. I've mentioned it before, I believe, but not often enough probably. So there you go. Pretty nice quality of life thing to know about. This next tip is something that I didn't realize had been changed in the way it was, and I'd stopped doing this because I thought they'd fixed it or changed it in some way. I don't exactly remember how it used to work, but I feel like, anyway, this is what it is. Now with necromancy, you can conjure your spirits, and when you want to use life transfer, which would normally cost you 50% of your base life points, you can actually use a power burst of vitality to double your health, then use life transfer, and it will technically only cost you a quarter of your life points because your health points are doubled, but it will still only take the base life points, not anything that's been boosted by. This means that if you use a VIP pot, you go from 10k to 20k health. It still takes 5,000 away from you, but when that VIP pot expires, you go down to 7,500 rather than back down to 5,000. This is super useful in a lot of places actually. If you aren't relying on that VIP pot for anything else, you can use this and take advantage of using life transfer in a place where maybe you would have got killed. Like, I hate using life transfer at Zamorak because I might get executed if I drop my health too low. But if I use a VIP pot, you can actually do this quite easily. Unfortunately, I don't remember who it was that commented this on one of my videos or live stream, but thank you if you remember it was you. I appreciate it. I was pretty certain that it was actually going to take the full 10k still, like because you doubled to 20, that it's going to take 10k. So I guess I've learned something too. Next up, did you know that the best place, realistically or technically, to use your death touch darts when you do actually get some is at the ambassador? This is just because of the fact that the ambassador's drops, in comparison to other things, are better that you can use a Death Touch Dart on. You can't use them on all bosses, you can use them on certain ones, and so that's why he is up there. However, a lot of people do think that it kind of becomes a bit of a waste when you can finally kill the Ambassador pretty consistently. So if you're at a point where you can now kill the Ambassador consistently, you're not going to die. It takes you like between 3 minutes to 4 minutes, maybe even quicker, depending how good you are at the boss. Kind of feels a bit of a waste to throw a 5 million GP Death Touch Dart at the Ambassador instead of just spending the 3 minutes trying to kill him, right? In this situation, what do you do with your Death Touch Darts? Well, you actually can use these on a Telos kill if you have a streak. So if you're someone who likes to do Telos and you like to do streaks, bring one of these along with you when you get to higher enrages or to higher amounts of streaks. This way, if you make a mistake, because everybody makes mistakes, and you feel like your life is about to end, you can throw a Death Touch Dart at him and it will push it through to the next phase. If you use it on the last phase, then it's completely done. If you use it at any other phase, it will just put you through to the next one. This can be a super useful thing to keep in mind, especially for those of you who are doing like 200 kill streaks, but I assume at that point you probably already knew. So I suppose this is more for the people who maybe are going to go pick up Telos at some point soon, and this can be something you can keep in mind. Apparently, you can use Reaper points at death, which I didn't even know this, and it's probably worth doing. I don't know if I've got enough things though. We'll look at rewards, and if you go to unlocks, I believe it's going to be in, we can apparently make it so that if we buy the death support here, we can permanently increase the amount healed from Sign and Portent of Life and Death by 100%. Meaning if you die with Sign of Life now, which is on your defense cape, if you have that as well, you will get 50% more health back. Like you'll come with 50% health rather than 25%, which is obviously really good. I didn't know this. This probably would have saved me so many times. The amount of times I've thought to myself, man, Sign of Life sometimes really pointless at this place specifically, because I come back to life and immediately take that much damage again, and it's just wasted. This would probably have fixed that, so thank you very much. In fact, this would be insanely good as Zamorak, I think. Stop you from, if you get Sign of Life, the execute won't immediately execute you after, because that's just what it seems to do to me. Maybe I'm just bad, but hey, 250 Reaper points probably is worth it at some point, especially if you are finding that nuisance just like me. I didn't know this either. There's so many in this that I don't already know about. Apparently, if you can't use the map and Death's Office. Okay, there's another one. That's a bonus one. But apparently, if you click on the world map here or anywhere, you can click on lodestones and you can teleport. What the frick? How didn't I know this? Okay, so you can just click on lodestones and you can teleport straight there. So what? There's so many things in this game that I have just no idea about, but I mean, that's pretty cool. Be honest in the comments. How many of you guys knew about this? If you didn't know about this, I want you to comment and just say, I had no idea. Because I think there's going to be more people. Like, I'm going to throw another little bonus one in here because I've mentioned it in the past, but someone else mentioned it too. You can drag them right from here. You can drag them from here to your action bar. And I knew this. I already knew this one. But I had no idea you could open this up and just use it from the world map. That's really cool. I like that. But also another thing someone mentioned, and I wanted to include it here as well. I think I've mentioned it in the past again, which is why it's on screen, but you can also click on like the dungeon and stuff on some of them. For example, that one didn't work clearly. Like the wilderness one here, I think this one will work. It'll load the next bit of the map for you there. Because the map can be quite confusing with all these little lists. So you can actually just click the thing and it takes you straight to it. But you can teleport to lodestones with the world map. Holy crap. I had no freaking idea. Thank you so much. This is so cool. Okay, so the next comment says, apparently if you come to World 62 and you have a pink die, which I don't actually have or have unlocked the quest yet, but Jira's here to help us out, you can dye Virago pink. So we're going to quickly take a look. I have never ever seen this before, but we are going to find out. We need to go into the first bit of the fight. Maybe I should get some gear. One sec. Okay, so we're clearly not going to be going for an actual fight. We just want to get in there and dye it just so we can see. But World 62 we are on, and we're now just going to wait for Jir, and then we'll start the thing and see if we can dye it. Hopefully he gets to join at a time. I think he has. All right, there we go. Heat up a little bit. Now we just basically want to survive. Virago, where you at? There we go. Let's see if it works. It does work! What the hell? That's so cool. Well then, we are not we are not sort of built for this at all. But there you go. That's pretty cool. Right, I'm gonna port out now. But yeah, hey, that's pretty cool. I have heard that before in the past, but I've never actually seen it. So that's the first time I've seen it. Did you guys know this? Let me know in the comments. The next comment says that there's some places in the game, i.e. the Varrock North Bank, I guess it's the north one or the west one or whatever, you can actually surge through certain parts of it to save yourself a little bit of time, which is absolutely true. Now, I'm probably not going to be able to do this properly to show you guys, but I will show you other places that I know work. If not, it did work. There you go. So you can surge directly through that corner there, and it will save you a little bit of time, of course, rather than running all the way around. And it's pretty useful, and it is definitely convenient to know in some places, but it just doesn't just work there. It works in a lot of other places as well. There's actually places in PVM where you'll take advantage of this, like Elite Dungeons specifically is really good for it. You cut through corners and whatnot. But as well, you can even just do it at the Grand Exchange, like here. I think, yeah, you can just go through any random edges. There's not any of them, but a lot of them. It's so weird. I don't know why it does this. Can you even go a little bit further back, maybe, possibly? Yeah, you can dive through it. Sometimes it will say you can't dive through things that you can't walk through, and this is just not true. We know this because we've tried it before. You can't surge through things that you can't walk through, for example. It's going to put us into the wall there, and if you try and dive through the other side, it would say that you can't do this, but we know that there's certain places in the game that you absolutely can do this, so this is interesting. And out of curiosity, what is your guys' most interesting places that you can actually dive through? Mine's probably the fact that it is actually the GE, like, that's a big fail, but you saw before, the GE is pretty interesting because, like, let me just steal the dyes and the party hats that are behind here, please. Jagex, like, there's a purple right there. Just let me take the purple. Why not? The next comment says that we can apparently teleport through the bankers or the Grand Exchange clerks to the other Grand Exchanges in the game. I didn't know this was a thing either. The amount of times I've been stood here and I've gone, oh no, I need to get my Luck of the Dwarves out of the bank so that I can go to the regular Grand Exchange. Apparently, if you talk to these guys, you can click this, go through, and then go, I wish to visit the Varrock Grand Exchange. You can. What the frick? Okay, go. You sure you want to teleport to Varrock? Yes. So we can go from the Max Guild to Varrock. Now, I don't know for sure if this is just available to anybody who's unlocked the Max Guild. I guess it would be because you can only access the Max Guild. But I think you can also go to Prif, someone said as well. So let's talk to this person here and see if we can go to the Prif one, like the actual Prif one, rather than this. In fact, can you only come back here, actually? Oh, you can. Okay, so if we go to Priv, I'm assuming we can come to the regular G. We can't go back and forth, though. We can only go from one of the other Grand Exchanges to Varrock. Let me just double check this for you guys. Check. I wish to visit the Varrock Grand Exchange. Yes. Okay, so we can go from any other Grand Exchange, it seems, to the regular Grand Exchange. So you don't have to run through the bank and you look at the dwarves. You can just talk to these people and they do it for you. I had no idea this was a thing, but hey, that's pretty cool and convenient. Okay, so the next comment says that apparently if you are using a legendary pet as your actual, like, beast of burden, because you can give the pack yak or whatever to your legendary pet, apparently, you will actually lose the items in the fight and not at Death's Office. Because we already know that if you obviously have a beast of burden like a yak and you go ahead, I need to buy a freaking pouch, and you go ahead and give it items and then die in a thing, it all drops on the floor in Death's Office. Now, if you didn't know this, you're welcome. Pick your stuff up. It's a lot of money, but you can also give these to a thing. Wait, do I need to add a freaking skill for it? Right, 1 second. Okay, so apparently if we give this to our familiar here and transform to a beast of burden, now we can give this some items. So we're just going to give it like 10 rock tails or something. I could always give it 1, but you know, for the sake of the video, we'll do this. And then if we die now, apparently we just lose the food. It doesn't go on Death's Office. So we're going to go and commit suicide over here to, let's say, let's make this like Carapack or something a little bit quicker. We Carapack, we go through, and then we'll see if we actually get our stuff back. Because I've got a feeling that we're not going to. I believe everything people tell me on comments because it's always absolutely true, especially the ones that hurt my feelings. And then we're just going to see what happens here. Wait for this to come down. Come on, come on, come on. All right, kill us off. I hope I don't have anything here that's going to, like, be bad to die with. I don't think so. I don't lose anything. I don't lose my Grace of the Elves, or do I? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I better not lose these. These took a while to get. I know it's only 83, but man, not quick. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we keep our familiar things or not. What the frick? You did lose it all. Wait, did he go to Death's office or not? Okay, take 2. Let's rejoin and get back in there. This time we should definitely see Death's office because we have wealth on us. And we're going to have to buy it back. So it's going to cost me a bit of GP, but not too much. Okay, moment of truth. 10 rocktails in the legendary pet, which is called Tiny apparently. Does it arrive on Death's office floor? It does not. Okay, so if you are using a Beast of Burden, don't use it with a legendary pet. Use it regularly, because if you die, you can lose everything. That's actually really damn good. Thank you for sharing that. I am actually quite impressed that that's even a thing. But there you go. This next one I can't really test because I am not a lower level in woodcutting, but apparently if you go ahead and add the rune hatchet to your tool belt straight away, it'll give you all of the previous tiers of hatchets until rune. I didn't know this was a thing. I don't really know anything about skilling. Did you guys know this one? I mean, this is freaking epic. You can see this one has 25 likes. I'm not surprised. This is very impressive. Thank you for pointing this out. This could be incredibly helpful for some people. If anyone else can think specifically of really useful tips like this one for newer players or returning players who are starting a new account, please do comment them below, or if you have the time, maybe chuck me some on Discord, and I will make a video specifically for new and returning players on low levels where tips like this can be helpful, because this would be insanely time saving for someone who wants to go ahead and do that. Like, instead of getting every single hatchet, you're going to save money as well, and you're going to save loads of time. It's just, I don't know, this is just really good. So thank you very much, you absolute legend. Okay, so in the bank right now, there's a little bit of a bug. This isn't the issue, but this is how I came across finding this out. If you open up your presets here, it's all bugged, right? And you can't see what the preset is on my Carapac preset here. It's a pain in the ass. There's actually a thing, if you click off it, obviously you can bring it back. But if you click on something else, then click back again, this right now that you're looking at is actually my Temple of Amonishi preset, and not my Carapac one. My Carapac one is completely different. If I click on the Carapac one again, you're going to see it's going to actually update to this. Now, this isn't my Carapac preset because I accidentally overwrit it. Because if it's showing the other one and you're on number 5, but you're actually showing number 4, then it overwrites number 5, right? So I did this by accident. I was trying to save number 3 for a video, ended up doing number 4. It's fine. But this is what happened. And then I learned that you can actually save your preset by right-clicking a number here and pressing save. You can save the presets that you've made. So if I went to update my Carapac preset and I went to go through and like grab out all the stuff to fix it, like obviously I'm not going to do it all right now, I can do this, and then I know that's number 4 and it says Carapac there, right click, press save, and it'll do it. It's going to be updated. Look, preset has been saved. Go in here now, and look, it's there. It's been fixed. Obviously this isn't actually what I want to keep as my Carapac preset, clearly, but you can just right click the numbers, and I had no idea about this at all. So I thought it would be interesting. Comment down below how many of you actually knew this. I knew you could click them and press the F keys to open them, but like, I didn't know you could do this from here. I don't know, interesting to me. So actually sticking around the bank for a little second, there's a couple more things I want to talk about while we're here. You can actually apply weapon poison while in the bank by taking it out and right clicking it in your inventory and pressing apply. Now, you'll notice you can't do that while it's in the bank, which is a little bit of a sad thing. It'd be nice if you could. But you notice that this has changed from a 6 dose to a 5 dose, and I now have the buff for it. If I close this, I have the buff for it. And it's not going to close my interface to do this. Now, you can do other things as well, like summon a familiar, but annoyingly, weirdly, and kind of pointlessly, it will actually close your interface. So if I press summon here, it'll do that for me, and it will immediately close the interface. It'd be nice if it didn't do this, and then you could also get your scrolls maybe and like add to it, but you can't. So hopefully that'll get changed at some point. I highly doubt it, but it would definitely be nice to do. And then another thing you can do is if you're cleaning your bank, say I didn't want these spades anymore, you don't have to like take these out and then open it and then drag them to the floor. You don't have to do that. When you're in the bank, if it's here, you can just drag it off, and it's going to ask if you want to destroy it. You say yes, destroy. Boom, they're gone. The spades are gone. They're not on the floor. They're just gone forever. Nice and easy. If you're going to clean your bank, just drag it straight out. And if you want to apply anything from in here like weapon poison, I think it maybe it's just weapon poison that you can do. Maybe anti-poison as well. You can drink anti-poison in here as well, and that won't close it. So you can do this sort of stuff. You can apply weapon poison and whatnot from the bank, and then you can also just drag stuff out to destroy straight away. Pretty interesting to me. Next up, we're going to be talking about target cycle. For those of you that don't know what target cycle is, you can set a keybind in your settings here, as you can see on screen, and you can set that to target cycle. This is kind of like tab targeting in any other MMO that has that available. From what I can tell, it doesn't matter if you cycle forward or cycle backwards, just pick one of them. You don't have to pick the other one. But this is super useful in a few situations. One, if you're running through an area where the units are very, very small to click and you just want to like target cycle through them instead, it can be helpful for that. But also, if you are starting a boss fight and the boss fight hasn't fully appeared yet, as an example, you're going to be watching me do this at Hellweir on screen now, I can target cycle to Hellweir and start attacking him before I can actually target him with my mouse. Now, this may not be a big deal to most players, but for some people who are trying to get faster kill times or trying to be as efficient as possible, you can actually start this fight a couple of seconds quicker. You don't have to worry about his little animation at first, and it is definitely something you can take advantage of. Also, I tend to use target cycle at the beginning of most boss fights anyway, because it just makes it easier to start that fight and then apply things like your smoke cloud and your vulnerability bomb, because you don't have to click and then do it. You just press the target cycle button and then apply all that stuff, and then off you go. Do you guys use target cycle though? I'm going to assume most people don't use this, and I'm assuming a few people didn't even know that you could do this, so let me know. Actually, coming back to the bank, did you know in the bank interface there is a filter down here, and you can use this for finding things nice and easy. For example, if you click on the filter, you've got all these options. You've got cleanup, members items, non-members equipment, one equipment, all this sort of stuff. It makes pretty much like common sense, but the cleanup one is probably the most useful for stuff that has no value or no use and are holiday items that you can retrieve. You just click this and you just like you remove the placeholder if you want to do that, but then everything else is a one click to remove stuff. So like we get rid of all this stuff by one clicking it once, and all the archaeology stuff that I can get back later. And then I think the other ones maybe will cost a little bit of GP to reclaim, so you could leave those if you wanted to, or you can just get rid of them and keep your bank nice and tidy. Then another one that I like to use is the tradable one here. If you're looking for loot in your bank and your bank your bank looks something like mine, like yeah, it's not good. You're looking for your loot, maybe you go to tradable. And then in here, everything that you see now is tradable, making it easier to actually find your loot. Because if you look at this bar on the right hand side, you're going to notice that I have less tradable items than I do non-tradable. So if I go here, tradable right now is what we're on, and then I press non-tradable, you're going to see that bar like goes almost as like half the size, meaning it's like almost twice as many non-tradable things in my bank as there was tradables. So being able to filter those out, then look for my loot, makes life a hell of a lot easier. So take advantage of filters if you need them. And I really need to sort my bank out. I know, and I know I'm going to get comments again and again and again saying, "In it, please clean your bank. It's a disgrace." It is. I just don't have the motivation to do it. Like, it's not good. It really is not good. This one's a little bit of just a random interesting fact, and that is, did you know that Death's Office is actually an instance for people that are visiting Death's Office from the grave? So what I'm saying is, if you die to a boss, which, you know, I have no experience with whatsoever because I've never died in this game. I had to fully look this one. Okay, anyway, if you go to Death's Office from dying, you can't actually have somebody come into Death's Office and trade you money, for example, for death costs, without them going and dying first, because the death instance is different to the instance where you go in there maybe to talk to him, get a reaper task, or like buy something from the reward shop. It's actually completely different in terms of the instance. Even if you're on the same world, it's completely different. This means that if you have died and you see somebody there at the same time, they've also died too. They're not there picking up like a reaper task or anything like that. They've just died as well. And if anybody wants to bring you any GP to help you buy a death cost back, which doesn't happen really anymore, they will have to go ahead and get themselves killed somewhere so they can come to Death's Office too. This doesn't have a ton of value in knowing it, but I thought it was interesting all the same, and I figured I would share it with you guys. For the final one here, we're actually going to talk about animations for like overriding your combat abilities and stuff. If you come into your customizations and then go to animations, you can actually have multiple active at once. And someone mentioned this to me the other day when they didn't realize that you could do this because my barricade changed, and they're like, wait, hold on, how can you have two different ones? If you go into combat animations here and you find barricade, you'll see I've got molten, shock, and ice all available, and they are basically going to rotate through this. You can set all of them. You don't only have to have one. So if I deactivate these, I will now pretty much just have the shock one. But if I have this one, I can apply it. They will all apply and not just the one of them, and we can have it kind of like a rotating thing. Now the same works with teleports as well. If you go to spell animations in here, you find the teleport. you can apply this one as well, and then you can have the other one, and you can apply this too. And then every time you teleport, you'll have many different animations when you actually start teleporting. It's not always going to be the same thing, basically. So if you see here, we're going to teleport. It's going to be that one. And if we teleport again, I think we have to actually turn off quick charges for this to work, maybe. Right, again. Now we get a different animation altogether. That's the Ozan one this time. But the same goes for combat too. You can have multiple different ones just to kind of like show how things look a little bit differently, a bit of variety, rather than just having the one on there. So we're going to head up. And this basically adds value to all the other animations and makes it so that it doesn't just, like, you're not only having one favorite one and that's all it is. So if we're going to go here, we're going to use this, and we're going to use barricade. You see I got the frost one this time, and then we'll barricade, and hopefully we get something different. There you go, got the live one this time. So it shows that you can mix up your animations a little bit, and you can have multiple different effects available all at the same time. First up is a pretty useful thing to know for anybody who is maybe on an account that doesn't have much wealth, or maybe you're limited to using supplies and just want to save a bit of money, and that is being able to use spells such as Animate Dead, which is the one I'm going to use in the example here, or any other spell that you might want to cast before you do a fight or anything like that, or for any other use, without actually using the runes. Now, if you are limited on all this sort of stuff and you want to save the money, because Animate Dead is pretty expensive to cast each time, it is 38k. If you go here, you use the adrenaline crystal, and then you use metamorphosis. When you use this, oh, wait, 1 second. Let's go here on this. Okay, now we use it. Use metamorphosis. We can then use Animate Dead, and we won't be charged the spells for it. So as you can see, I do not have a rune pouch, but I do have all the runes that I need in my inventory, but I was not charged for using it. That is because metamorphosis makes it so you have no rune cost while using spells, while you're underneath metamorphosis effect. So you can come to the crystal, charge up your adrenaline, cast metamorphosis, and then use any spell that you want to use without being charged, so Animate Dead. The only thing to keep in mind here though is it does share a cooldown with Sunshine, so if you are going to go into a boss fight afterwards, head to this altar, pray here, and that'll reset your cooldown, meaning when you do go into the boss fight, you can still use your Sunshine, because otherwise it'll be on cooldown and big rip. But Animate Dead lasts for 12 minutes, I do believe, which means you only have to do this once every 12 minutes. You charge this up, use Metamorphosis, get your free cast, and then you're golden for 12 minutes. You don't have to worry about spending any extra money. This is really useful for me when I'm using like my alt account and stuff, because man, these runes are expensive for that, and you go through them very quickly, very limited on budget and stuff, so being able to cast it for free is definitely helpful. Our next thing is going to be taking us to Prifdanis. Now, if you have Prifdanis unlocked, you actually have access to loads of things in the city, but one of them I did on stream the other night, and people were like, wait, what? How is was this a thing, and how did I not know about it? And that is going to be in this little building over here. So when you come in, make your camera go north, and then look to the east. In the east pathway, you can actually change your prayer book and your spell book at the little what's it called? It's called a grimoire. It's the elven grimoire. So this elven grimoire in here, you can come in here and you can swap your spell book and your prayer book, or you could pray at it, and I assume that will just give you prayer points, which it does. But this is a nice convenient way to change your spell book and your prayer book without going back to the places. Everybody was going to like the dig site to change their prayers. People were going to the desert temple or whatever, the desert pyramid, to change the spell book. You don't need to do that. You can just change it here and it'll just do it for you straight away. So now I am on standards, and then I do it again. Now I'm back on ancients, and it's just how it works. You want to swap your prayers, you can do it. You can change your cursors of prayers, and then you can change it to the thing. You can also make it so you can do this at any altar, but I don't do this because then every time you pray, it's like, do you want to change your altar? And you don't do that. So if I say yes, allow me to do this at any altar. The altar eases its grip on your mind, blah, 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 cursors are gone. But the way this actually works isn't that you can then change back to the ancient cursors at any altar. All it does is let you, if you're on ancient cursors, so let me change this back to regular things. We go back to the cursors, and then now that we can actually do this at any altar, what will happen is every time we pray at any altar while we're on ancient cursors, it's going to give us the option to change back, and it's kind of annoying, so I toggled it off and made it so you had to go to that place there. But if you go here and you press pray, you're going to see here it says, yes, switch back to prayers, no, keep using curses, or no and only ask me at the Centistan altar. So we're going to say no and only ask me at the Centistan altar. But again, you can do this at the one in Priv. So that place is pretty cool, pretty convenient. It's a good time saver. You don't have to go to the Centistan altar. You don't have to go to the pyramid. Just go to Priv if you have it unlocked. Another way you can do this, but I'll just quickly add, is if you have a wicked pouch, which I think I have, yeah. If you have a wicked pouch, which you buy from the Solomon store for loyalty points, you can actually change it here as well. You can change your prayers or curses, you can switch your spellbook, and of course you can swap your spellbook on a magic cape too. Okay, so the next couple of things on this list are ones that I actually have thought of, or not thought of, been shown from a post on Reddit. I'll put that on screen so you can see, and I'll also link the post in the description so you can go and check it out and give it upvotes and comments or whatever. But I read through those and I was like, hey, this is interesting. I didn't know it. I didn't know both of these things, and so we're going to use it in this video as an example. So thank you for that. Now, the first one is, if you have a Virtus book, right? And I didn't know this, and I don't know how. I use magic all the time. I've used Virtus book loads of times. If you have a Virtus book, you can actually read it. The book is a book. I know it's a book, but like it actually has a read option on the weapon, and I didn't know this. You can actually read the thing. Look, did you guys know this was here? I've right-clicked this thing so many times to check charges, to just whatever. Read. There's a read option. What the hell? You leaf through the pages, the book, until you find some undamaged decipherable text. You open it up, and you get this here. And there's lots of different stuff about like Virtus, Pernix, Torva, Virtus. Like, what the frick, man? I had no idea this was a thing. So seeing this on there, I was like, no, I came here, check this. And it's a thing. Like, what the hell? I don't know. But this is just interesting to me. Obviously, it offers nothing other than that. It can give you a little cool animation. You can walk around with the book out, apparently. You must do that again. Read. We'll open the book up. We'll close it. So you can do the animation. I went away this time. Last time it didn't do that. But there you go. It's pretty cool. Did you know this? I had no idea. The next one is going to take us to a fishing location. Now, this is actually an achievement in game. I haven't done comp. I don't plan on doing comp. So there's some achievements that surprise me. So this is going to be more common knowledge for the people who have done comp probably, or trim comp or whatever is the requirement for. But for other players who, like me, just aren't really that interested in it, you're probably still going to be like, how did I not know this was a thing? So, you come to the fishing place, you catch a fish. We're gonna cast our rod out here. We're gonna attempt to catch a fish, and we get one. Right, now we're gonna come away. Now, if you use the trout, the raw fish, right? We use this on the fishing spot. You put it back. You can put the fish back. Now, this would logically make sense, but Jagex kind of just assumed that we are murderous, and as soon as we catch a fish, we kill them immediately. Because if you look in the text box, it says, you release the raw trout back into the water like the wonderful and kind person you are. And it floats away slowly and awkwardly. Did you think that would work? So, the fish is dead, obviously, that is what that is. But this is actually an achievement in game. When you do this, you will get the achievement for it. But I had no idea. The fishing spots just disappeared. What the frick? Okay, well, but I actually thought this. I actually had no idea this was a thing. After all my many years of playing RuneScape, I don't know how long this has been in the game, whether it was in the beginning, whether it's like last couple of years or something. I have no idea. But putting the fish back in the spot isn't. I've never even thought to try it. But yes, you can release fish. But unfortunately, they're already dead. We must hit them over the head with a rock or something. We must do something to them. The poor little fish. But did you know this? To be honest, people who haven't done all the achievements, did you know this was a thing? Because I had no freaking idea. Okay, so the final thing I'm going to be showing you guys is something I've been using quite a lot lately on streams when people ask me to do like challenges and stuff to make it so I can't use food and stuff like that, right? And that is going to be the Reaver built familiar, which I need to go and buy one of, which is absolutely fine. But the Reaver can actually be a really cool way to sustain your health and kind of give you a unlimited amount of healing in a way. Because if you think about it, it can give you 500,000 healing, technically, from one familiar, which is insane, considering you can't carry that much food. What the Reaver does is, when you summon it, and you give a scrolls to it, the special attack from the Reaver will take health from itself, but it will heal you for 1,000 health. So what we're going to do here is quickly grab out a rune pouch, and then I'll lower my health from doing that. Let me find where they are. There we go. And I'm going to quickly just use tendrils on. I mean, we're going to quickly use tendrils on this just to lower our health. So we're going to cast some abilities to get some adrenaline. And then as soon as we can, we're going to use this. And then we'll use tendrils, right? This is going to lower my health down a little bit, just so you can see the familiar to it. But there's a 1000 heal, another 1000 heal, and you're going to see that it keeps going through. He's just casting over and over again. I'm not pressing the key. This is on auto fire, but you can see that the Reaver's health has gone down as well while he does this. But I am getting healing from it. The Reaver is healing me. This is insane. You can auto fire it to be every 1 attack, every like 2, 3, 4 attacks, whatever. But this is insanely convenient. However, you have to pair it with something else. If you pair it with the Prism of Restoration spell, what's going to happen is this will heal your Reaver, of course, because that's what the Prism of Restoration crystal does. I'm going to bring our familiar over here. You see he gets his health pushed right up to the top. But it also restores the special attack bar quicker as well. If you combine the Reaver and this crystal and scrolls and the auto fire to like 1 or 2 or whatever, your Reaver just constantly heals you continuously over and over and over again. The second you lose health, your Reaver is going to heal you. Let me show you one more time. We're going to use, we have to get higher adrenaline this time because Limitless is on cooldown. So we'll quickly get to 50% adrenaline. And then we're going to use Greater Chain again. Then we're going to use Tendrils to lower our health. And our Familiar is going to heal us as soon as we lose some health. Watch, there, 1000 healing, 1000 healing. 1000 healing, and as you can see, he's just going to keep doing that. Now if we cast the Crystal Restoration spell, our Reaver then gets his health back and he can continuously heal us. Sometimes you have to call him to get it to actually work, but it's crazy. It's like an infinite loop of health, and this has been super helpful for me in places. If you're using like ranged at Kerapac, you use a Reaver anyway, Kerapac in hard mode, it is useful to take the scrolls and just set it to like every 2 or 3 auto attacks. You will have it heal you. Make sure you take the runes for this, and it makes the last phase so freaking easy. I'm going to make a ranged Kerapac hard mode guide at some point. This will be included, absolutely. So if you didn't know about this, holy hell, this has made PvM so easy in some places. It's expensive, don't get me wrong. The scrolls are expensive. It's an expensive way to get 1000 health back, but if you want to do it, you can definitely do it. It's pretty often when I do the bosses Araxi and Nex that I get asked the question about which familiar you should be using. Quite often at these bosses you're going to be using a Nihil, or in some situations in Araxi you may want to use a Ripper Demon, but you don't want to use scrolls. Now the reason that you don't want to use scrolls at any of these bosses, or the reason you would use a Nihil in the first place, is mainly because it's going to boost your accuracy, whereas a Ripper Demon gives you a passive damage increase. But that being said, both of these bosses are immune to familiar damage. You can't damage Araxi or Nex with familiars at all. This is the reason that you're going to get more out of using an accuracy booster or a damage booster rather than then adding in scrolls or something like that to a Ripper Demon. So if you are using a Ripper Demon at Nex, don't. And if you are using them at Araxi, this is fine for the passive, assuming your accuracy is already high, but do not use any scrolls because, like I say, it can't take any damage from it, so it's just completely wasting those scrolls. For anyone wondering, you tend to want to use a Ripper Demon if you're on like Maniacal or Reckless or Berserk Aura, assuming you're using tier 90 plus accuracy weapons as well. And if you're not on these auras and you don't have that gear, then there's a good chance you probably want to use a Nihil that matches your style anyway, as they do give a passive accuracy boost. For this next clip, I'm going to be talking about Sunshine and Death Swiftness, but we're also going to be talking about the Berserk Auras once again, so Maniacal and Reckless. Now, personally, I am not 100% sure if this applies to Melee too, but people are going to have to let me know if it applies to Melee and Berserk too. I'm assuming it does, but I don't know 100%. Anyway, what I'm going to be talking about is if you're using Maniacal or Reckless, so Maniacal in our sake for this one, I'm not going to use this, I'm not going to activate it because I want to use it later on stream, but let's say I was using Maniacal Aura, right? The damage bonus from this does not stack with your Sunshine. Now, of course, if you're using ranged, then it won't stack with your Death Swiftness either. So, something to keep in mind is when you're using these, you aren't going to be, it's not going to be stacking, okay? That being said, it is still absolutely worth using Sunshine while you're on these auras, or using Death Swiftness while on these auras, because there's going to be more damage during that anyway. However, there is something you can take advantage of, because otherwise this tip or this thing would be pretty useless anyway without anything extra. If you wait until the last second of your sunshine here and you are on that aura, if you release that on the last second with some abilities, that will stack with your DPS aura. So the very last second or the very last tick of sunshine and death swiftness will stack with your DPS aura, meaning you can fire out a lot of damage on that last second. So if you're aware of this and you know it's about to run out and you know you're on that aura, then take advantage of those abilities. For example, as you saw me just then, I charged up a detonate and I released it with wild magic at the same time. This allows me to get detonate, an auto attack, and wild magic all to fire on that last tick of my sunshine, which means that I get 4 hits, and it will absolutely all stack with the thing. So massive hits out of that, big damage. And even if you just fire off something like a snapshot on ranged, or if you fire off a wild magic on magic, you're going to be getting a good damage boost from this, and it is definitely something worth keeping in mind, ready for when that does run out. So throughout the entire thing, you get no bonus damage from your aura, but right at the end on that last tick, throw out like a good hitting ability, and you'll see you'll get bigger numbers than normal. For the next one, we are going to be talking about sunshine again, but these are things that are going to help you with your DPS. Now, a lot of people probably know this one, if I'm being completely honest, but we will see, Right, so I'm on 100% adrenaline. We're going to drop our sunshine down here, and one thing that you need to know about when you're using your sunshine or death swiftness, or I think berserk actually maybe is different. I don't know. I don't know melee enough. Let me know. But using bleeds in a sunshine or a death swiftness, they are not buffed at all by using this. So it's not really worth using these during a sunshine and death swiftness if you have other abilities available. So you want to try and avoid these if you can, because like I say, the damage increase that you get from these, it just doesn't apply. They all do the exact same thing, and there's literally no reason to use this. Now this also applies for other things as well. So if you are using the Great Concentrator Blast, you obviously don't want to use a bleed after this, because bleeds can't crit, meaning that you don't get any benefit from doing this. So using Great Concentrator Blast and then a bleed doesn't offer you any extra damage whatsoever. The same goes for when you're using ranged. If I go and grab my Ascension Crossbows out, for example, if the game lets me, it's not going to let me because of the fire thing, but if you use Ascension Crossbows and use Needle Strike, this will give you a flat 7% damage increase, but it won't apply to bleeds. So again, you don't want to use a bleed after using that. However, one thing that is worth mentioning is on magic, if you use Metamorphosis, this will actually allow you to get an increased damage to your bleeds, meaning your bleeds will actually be increased in damage when you're using Metamorph rather than using Sunshine. So these are still actually worth using when you are using Metamorph, so keep that in mind, because this can be something that can be used in a lot of other places. For example, if you're doing Seryu, you may want to use Metamorph on the second jump instead or whatever, to just use the bleeds, or Telos in phase 3, I believe. If you're in the red beam, you also get your bleeds damage increased. If you use Metamorph and you're in the red beam, your bleeds are going to be doing a ton of damage. So, Sunshine, Death Swiftness, no bleed increase in damage. Metamorph, it does work. So, worth knowing about. People who know melee, let me know. Can I even check? Let me see. Does melee get increased with berserk? Does it say? It just says increases melee damage. People, let me know in the comments. Melee berserk, does it increase bleeds? I have no idea. We are still here for number 4 as well at the training dummies, which is pretty convenient for me making the video. But the next thing is that precasting Magma Tempest for you mages out there doesn't actually stop you from applying Smoke Cloud like other abilities would if you are using the targeted version. Now, the reason for this is if you have an actual target and then you apply an ability, you won't be able to apply Smoke Cloud straight away because you've got a target. Now, obviously, after 4 ticks, it will cast the spell through if you keep spamming it, but you'll have to stop not using any other abilities in this time. However, precasting Magma Tempest will not do this. So if you are like about to go cast the Magma Tempest, drop it on the floor before the boss is there, and then you can target that straight away, and then you can go on to your other damaging abilities right away. Like, it's not going to actually interrupt this for you, meaning you can still apply this before the actual fight starts, and you can have that bleed damage there. It's not gonna delay your start of the fight, basically. This is something I figured out at Kerapac because I like to precast this, and then I'll use target cycle, and then I'll apply smoke cloud straight after that, followed by my sunshine and my vulnerability bomb. So this works pretty well. Then you could of course always still just use sunshine and then apply this, but if you do it the other way around, then you can use an auto attack after the sunshine and get a bit more damage as well. So that's why I like to do it like that. And if you precasting magma, you can still use smoke cloud, but if you use any other ability first, you'll have to wait the 4 ticks before you can cast it again, because you're on the 4 tick cooldown for your abilities. Here's a neat little trick that we just figured out, and actually is probably going to be something that most of you don't know. So it does nothing. It's just purely for, and like, it's just interesting. We're going to share it to you anyway really quickly. If you can actually use vulnerability bombs to cancel animations. Didn't know this was a thing until literally just now. So we're going to head up here and I'm going to show you guys. So we're going to be able to just quickly cast Magma Tempest. Now what we want to do is make sure you remember where we casted this, and you're going to be able to see. So I'm going to cast it directly here, and then I'm going to cast it and throw a Vuln Bomb, and you're going to see that Vuln Bomb goes, Magma Tempest of animation gets cancelled, but the damage still goes through. And you can see it, there's no animation for it there, and this works with your sunshine as well. So if you sunshine and then vulnerability bomb on the same spot, it's going to cancel off the sunshine animation, but the buff is still here. So you can do this in like little groups with your friends when you go PVMing, for example. If they sunshine and death swiftness, just vuln on their spot, and you can be like, oh, why didn't you use sunshine, dude? What are you doing? Why didn't you use death swiftness? Throw them off just a little bit. But I thought this was pretty interesting. We found it out by accident literally just a few minutes ago. So I thought I'd share it with you guys as a little bonus one. Let's go to the final one though. Okay, so the final one for today is also going to keep us here at War's Retreat, so nice and easy to record, but also it's going to be pretty useful. If you're using Insight Fear, of course you're going to want to be using Tsunami at some point, so that you get that nice extra adrenaline buff every time you crit, right? This is definitely something that you would take advantage of, especially if you're using a Staff of Armadil. So we're going to Tsunami this here, but did you know that actually you can use things like Greater Chain to specifically get more crits out of when you're using the Tsunami and get really good adrenaline gain? So for example, if you use Tsunami here, any extra crits I get from now on is going to, I don't have the stacks Inside Fear anymore, it's gone, 1 second, but any extra crits after using Tsunami, including from Greater Chain, is going to be giving me a lot of adrenaline back. So if I just throw away some adrenaline here, if I can, if the game lets me and doesn't just give me crit after crit after crit, there we go. Now if I use Greater Chain, you see that I've crit on this one, I've crit on this one as well, and you're just going to see that my adrenaline gain is going to be absolutely crazy because of the Greater Chain. So every crit that I get on everything is absolutely going to add to my adrenaline. Now, this is really useful in boss places like Raksha, for example. You could use Greater Chain on Raksha when the shadow things spawn, and after you use Tsunami, and that way you can use Greater Concentrated Blast in between that. So if you use Greater Chain, then Greater Concentrated Blast, you've got a good chance of getting crits, like a lot of crits as you can see, and this means that your adrenaline is going to fly up really, really quickly. Now, one thing I will mention is you can use Tendrils after Greater Chain, and it will give you the guaranteed crits, and you will get a lot of adrenaline, but it is worth keeping in mind that if you use Tendrils and Greater Chain, you're going to take a lot more damage, because you'll take damage for each target. So as you see here, each one is going to damage me, and I can actually nearly kill myself if I don't cancel that. So keep that in mind. You will get the crits, and you will get all the damage, and you will get all the adrenaline, but you will take all of the damage as well, and it freaking hurts, man. Like it's not it's not something you really want to do. So use Great Concentrated Blast, use things like your own little battle staff after using the Greater Chain, and that way you've got all the crit chance from these as well, and your adrenaline should just basically fly up through the roof. Talking about the Dominion mines. Now you can get these from doing the Dominion Tower. You have to do quite a big list of requirements though, and you also have to have killed 500 bosses in the tower as well. I'll link in the description the Dominion mines wiki page where you can see all the requirements, and also you can enter your character name and it'll tell you what you have left to do to be able to get these. However, the grind is definitely worth it because these are super useful at many different bosses, but also the did you know for this one isn't that it's not only useful at bosses, you can use this in many other places too. As long as the target that you're trying to use them on is under level 138 combat, the Dominion mines will absolutely be used. Most people will save these for like just at Solak, just at AOD, or just at Seru for the crystals and places like that, but you can actually use these in different places to speed up, for example, running through an elite dungeon as well. If you drop them on the dragon through Elite Dungeon 2, you're going to clear through those dragons a lot quicker as well. But any NPCs that are less than 138 combat, you can use these mines to get an extra bit of damage off. For example, again in Elite Dungeon 2, I actually dropped this when the spike is about to come out of the ground in the second boss fight, because it will kill off that spike for you quite a little bit quicker. You get an extra bit of damage off of it, meaning you only need to use one ability rather than two, and it just saves you a little bit of time. So if you have anything else that you're doing in game and you're thinking, hey, these actually could work on that, this is less than 138 combat, might speed it up a little bit. These are pretty cheap to sustain. They're really not that expensive. You just keep buying them from the Dominion Tower reward shop, and they can definitely be super useful in a lot of situations. And of course, if you do unlock them, you still got them for the bosses that they're useful at as well. If you haven't got these, maybe pop your name in the actual thing and look up your account and see how far off you are and whether it's going to be worth it for you to get them. Next up is kind of like a double tip, I suppose, but it kind of goes hand in hand, is that the Amulet of Souls and the Essence of Finality amulets both increase your protection prayers by an extra 10% damage reduction. So at the base, if you use protect from range, magic, melee, or necromancy, you'll be reducing the damage by 50%. However, with the Amulet of Souls or the Essence of Finality equipped, this goes up to 60%, so an extra bonus 10%, right? This can be super useful in a lot of places because the extra 10% damage reduction is a big deal. Like, it adds up a lot. Places like Next, places where, like Zuck, for example, if you're doing the waves, you're going to notice this difference. However, what if you're someone who doesn't quite have an Amulet of Souls yet? What if you're someone who doesn't have an Essence of Finality yet and you want to use the Reaper necklace in other places instead because it's best in slot? For someone who's doing Next, for example, you want to use a Reaper necklace instead of an Amulet of Souls usually because it gives you better accuracy, and accuracy at Next is very important. The same goes for places like Araxi as well. Well, if you actually take with you a Powder of Protection, which you can just buy on the Grand Exchange for not all that expensive, you can actually get yourself that extra 10% damage reduction from the deflect curses or the protection prayers without having to use a Souls or an Essence of Finality. Now, for those of you that are thinking, wait, does this mean that I can use this and the Essence of Finality and the Souls and get an extra 10%? It doesn't stack. So this is just for people who don't have those options in the first place, or maybe using something else. This is kind of like a lower level item. People who aren't using the EOFs and whatnot can take advantage of it, but it's really freaking good. For someone who's leveling up a new account and you don't have either of these yet, you can still use this to get a little bit of extra damage reduction. And honestly, they're pretty cheap on the G. They're a couple 100k, but being able to go to places like Next and still get your damage reduction and still have the Reaper necklace accuracy or whatever else you've got, this is pretty damn awesome. And it's also maybe something to consider if you're using, say, a Blood Amulet of Fury somewhere to AFK, and you then don't have your Souls or your Essence of Finality, you can still use this if you're protecting from a certain prayer and get that extra 10% damage reduction. This is an interesting item that probably has some uses in some places for the high level players too, but for you guys that don't quite have the GP yet for a Souls or an EOF, this could definitely be something to take a look at. So for this next one, I want to talk about the Prayer Potion and the Restore Potion, or the flasks themselves, because I use flasks when I'm PVMing. I think most people do as well. Very often, people will send me clips for a little bit of advice on how to get through a boss or to check their inventory setup and see if there's anything missed, because this is a lot of the stuff that I teach in videos, right? And very often, a lot of people will be using Prayer Potions or flasks instead of Restore Potions or flasks. Now, it's important to note that the Super Restore Flask will actually give you more prayer restore than a Prayer Potion will once you get to a higher level of prayer. So, at level 99, you're going to see that a Prayer Flask will give you 317 points restored when you drink this, but a Restore will give you 327 prayer points when you drink this, and it'll also give you 327 summoning points as well. So you get two uses out of it, but you also get all of your stats restored as well. It says restores negative stat changes in all stats by 8 plus 25% of the total level, meaning that if your stats get drained in a fight, if you've used a brew or something like that, you're probably gonna have an overload, but it still stays drained for a little while. The Restore will put that back up for you straight away. These are also super useful like Zuck for the mechanic where you lose your HP level and you end up having to restore it back. So these have a lot more value than just getting a little bit of prayer. However, these also, if we look at the sale history here, they're also quite a lot cheaper to get yourself a Super Restore Flask than a Prayer Flask. So a lot of people think, oh, I need prayer, so I'll get a Prayer Flask, and don't realize that you actually get more out of Super Restore Flask in terms of prayer points and loads of other benefits as well. And I guess just because of the ingredients in making them, I can't see any other reason why that Super Restore Flasks are a lot cheaper. Maybe also bosses drop more restores than anything else, probably is also another reason. But these are a lot cheaper by quite a, like when you start stacking these up, there's a big difference in GP cost here, and obviously the super restores offers way more benefits, so take advantage of super restores instead. And this price difference has probably been the same way for as long as I can remember, so it shouldn't change. Super restores much better than the prayers, so take advantage. Our next tip is going to take us to Dungeoneering Land, and I don't freaking hate that name, man. And we're going to talk to the Brill Thox. Jagex, can I just have words that I can say? Thox Dottier. Okay, cool. Anyway, this person is going to sell us something which is pretty useful. If you have a ton of Dungeoneering tokens spare like this, and you're like, what do I spend it on? Because you've already bought like the important stuff from the main reward shop here. So if we go to this guy and shop and you look down, you're like, oh, I've already bought the main stuff from here. You don't need anything else. You can spend them here on getting a little bit of extra GP while doing your elite dungeons. So in here you can buy yourself the lucky charms for Temple of Amnesia, Dragonkin Lab, Shadow Reef, and the Zamorakian Undercity. So all of the elite dungeons, right? And for 10,000 Dungeoneering tokens each, you can get a lucky charm. So the way these work, as you can see here, it says carrying these will give you a chance to receive rare items when killing enemies. One are consumed whenever you receive a rare item. So you can take these with you, like as many as you want. They stack. They're not like individual items. They stack in your inventory like this, and they can just get consumed while you're killing random stuff in the actual dungeons. But places like Elite Dungeon 3 is going to give you the extra chance to get like the Shadowy Egg, all of this sort of stuff, along with giving you other alchables and just increasing your actual GP profits while you're running it. The Elite Dungeon 4 one, however, is going to give you access to the slivers. So if you're ever doing Elite Dungeon 4 and running the full thing, especially for your like prereqs of being able to skip Zami and it's 25 runs, you should be using these, because if you get the slivers, you can make a good amount of profit from those, especially the blue ones, and it just makes sense to use with you. But you also get other things as well, like alcohol, like salvage. You also get like Hydrix tips and all this sort of stuff, Onyx tips, whatever it is. But there's many other things that you can get. So take a look at the lucky charms before you go in if you have some spare Dungeoneering tokens. I do believe these are one of the most profitable ways to actually spend your Dungeoneering tokens and get yourself some money. I do think the Zamorakian ones are the most profitable ones in terms of GP return. I could be wrong though. I think as well, maybe Vital Spark drop enhancers are also kind of worth if you're going to be spending on that. But yeah, take advantage of lucky charms. They're really freaking good. The final one for today is, did you know that the Luck of the Dwarves buff, which gives you an extra 1% chance at a rare drop at bosses, doesn't actually work at all bosses? It's very often that I'm on stream doing Elite Dungeons. Well, one, it's very often that I'm on stream doing Elite Dungeons, but two, it's very often that I'm doing that and then someone will question why I'm not using Luck of the Dwarves. Hey, innit, you don't have Luck of the Dwarves, you forgot your Luck of the Dwarves, make sure you get it from the bank. And the truth is, it doesn't work there. The Luck of the Dwarves does not work at any of the Elite Dungeon bosses for increasing the rare drop chance, and it also doesn't work at, I believe, Legions as well. So this means that if you go to those places, you don't have to bring it along, and you can just have that inventory space given back to you. Whether you fill it with food or another switch or whatever you want to do, you still have that inventory slot available, and you don't need to look at the dwarves for these bosses. That being said, it is worth mentioning though that it will still give you that extra chance at a rare drop table as you're killing the regular trash mobs through the dungeon. So this can still give you the access to the signet ring, of course, because it gives you the rare drop table drop. So if you want to wear it while you're clearing the dungeon and killing the trash mobs, then you might as well. But for the boss fight itself, there's not really all that much point because it doesn't work on those bosses in the slightest. Again, with the bosses, it will give you that one chance to get the rare drop table drop from it, but it's probably not worth your time bringing it in the inventory, especially if you're learning these bosses as well. And of course, when you're clearing the dungeon, you could be using something like a Ring of Death for the extra adrenaline to clear quicker, or obviously just getting a better amount of stats from a different ring in general, like better crits and all that sort of stuff. So you'll just have to weigh up the costs. Do you want to run the dungeon and get the rare drop table drops, or do you want to run the dungeon and clear it quicker and have more adrenaline, or whatever you end up doing? Just weigh up what's better for you. Yeah, this ring doesn't work everywhere, and so it's probably not worth using at the boss fights in Elite Dungeons and at Legions. First up, did you know that your RuneScape password isn't case sensitive? Now, I'm not talking about the new Jagex account passwords, those absolutely are, but if you are someone who hasn't moved over to the Jagex accounts just yet, your regular RuneScape login password is not case sensitive.
I didn't know this for many years, and I found out a couple of years ago, and I was very shocked to find out that I've been entering my password and making sure to use the correct capitals in the right place across many years. Didn't need to. They're not case sensitive even to this day. If you don't believe me, go and try it. If you have capitals in your password, go and try it out. I guarantee it will still work. I suppose this is one of the many reasons to swap over to a Jagex account. I haven't done it just yet for a few other reasons myself, but there you go. Be honest now, how many of you guys have been entering capitals and making sure to do them correctly? You've probably typed them wrong in the past and you're still logged in and thought, I must have got it right. Well, turns out wouldn't have mattered either way. This one is for the returning players of the game that have come back since being like, oh wait, we're getting a new skill and it's combat and it's necromancy. Holy crap. A lot of you guys have come back to the game lately and you've been starting getting back into your accounts and getting prepared. Well, this one will probably save you a bit of time if you didn't know it. You can now buy overload kits and super anti-fires on the Grand Exchange. You no longer have to make these potions, you can get them directly from the Grand Exchange from other players. Overload kits will include everything required to make the basic overload, and super anti-fires are just buyable directly from there. You don't have to go and pluck that stupid Phoenix's feathers anymore, because let's be honest, that thing was just annoying as hell. This also means that players who do not have the level requirement to use super anti-fires can absolutely just buy them and use it. You will no longer need to worry about using the other ones, as you don't need the level requirement to even consume it. This also opens up the Queen Black Dragon to a lot of lower level players who didn't have the requirement for super anti-fires in the past. You can now go to this boss without taking regular anti-fires or a shield or anything like that, and you can just consume the super anti-fires and beat the living crap out of that dragon a lot easier. Did you know that you can also get access to a fair bit more content from myself by heading over to the Patreon link in the description and chucking $1 over there to help me stay full time, but also to unlock a fair bit of Patreon only content which will continue to be uploaded as well, and all tiers get access to this, so thank you to anybody who does support. And let's get back to the video. Next up is the time-saving one, but it is treasure hunt related, but this is still a good one because treasure hunt could be a nuisance for a lot of people, including myself. So let's talk about it. You can set up auto redeem for your prismatic stars and your prismatic lamps and a few other things as well in the treasure hunter settings. This is going to allow you to, when you redeem a star or a lamp, and a few other things like dungeoneering tokens will be automatically opened, this sort of stuff, they will automatically be redeemed. You don't have to fill up your inventory with this, and it is going to save you that inventory space. It's going to save you the time of having to click through stuff. Unfortunately, you can't use this on like promotional things like bubbling lamps or the smoldering lamps, all that sort of stuff, but you can set it up for the regular ones. This is great for when you are maybe opening quite a few keys and your inventory is going to fill up and you have to then go to the bank and get rid of it. It keeps your inventory less clogged. But also when you're just like me and you find treasure hunters to be a nuisance and you're just like, oh please, just it's worth doing because it's bonus XP and it can have like GP prizes and stuff, but it's just an annoying thing to do. So you click on the stuff and then it goes to your inventory, you got to redeem it. Well, this way, if you do get lamps, if you do get stars, automatically done and you can move on with your day. A very quick one for those of you that don't already know. I've mentioned it a few times in the past now, but it always brings new people forward. You can decant potions at NPCs, and you can also take them noted. So don't mix them yourself, don't take them unnoted. You can save a lot of time. I'm going to quickly keep mentioning this in these videos until I stop getting the comments that says, what the frick, how didn't I know about this? Next up takes us to the RuneScape world map. This is a tool that probably most of you guys don't use, especially players that have been around for a long time, because let's be honest, you kind of know this map inside out. You spend a lot of hours in this game. But for newer players and for returning players who maybe have just taken a hell of a long break, you may actually find a lot of use out of the world map rather than going and wikiing every single little thing. Now, did you know that there's actually a really useful feature on the world map for if you are looking for something, you can actually check and uncheck the boxes on the left hand side and they will show a glowing icon of the one that you've just checked to show you where that is. You can notice it on the map very quickly and you can obviously toggle on and off things that weren't already on. But this could be really useful for somebody who's maybe skilling and mining somewhere or woodcutting somewhere and you're looking for something like the nearest bank deposit box. For example, if you toggle the bank deposit box icon, you're going to see on the map, it will highlight all of the locations that you can see a bank deposit box. This will save you a lot of time. If you didn't know there was one nearby and it's closer than a bank, it's more convenient. Hey, there you go. You saved yourself a bit of time. This can be useful for finding shops, probably really useful for Iron Men if you just need a specific location for something. But I genuinely do think that the world map probably doesn't get as much use as it has value. I mean, in the comments, have you used the world map for anything like this recently, or do you use it often? Personally, I don't think I've used this thing correctly, like opened it and used it for a reason, in a hell of a long time. This next one is for you magic combat lovers, which is obviously the best place to be. Did you know that Magma Tempest doesn't actually affect your auto attack global cooldown if you target it on the ground? What do I mean by this? Well, if you are stood with just a staff, just camping a staff, and you are firing off abilities, you will not be able to manually force out an auto attack in between abilities. You won't be able to do this, it's just how the game works. However, if you use Magma Tempest on the ground near your target and not on the target, you will be able to force out an auto attack of any kind just before firing your next ability. This is kind of like Fortic auto attacking, but without the switching to do Fortic auto attacking. This could be really useful for people who do staff camp but want to get a extra auto attack in for a bit of damage, or the best one in my opinion is applying Smoke Cloud. If you are someone who likes to apply Smoke Cloud to bosses but you don't want a Fortic to do it, maybe you messed up applying it at the beginning of a boss fight or it's run out of cooldown. Well, if you just use Magma Tempest on the ground beside a boss, you can actually then reapply Smoke Cloud and use your next ability without it interrupting you. So this is a convenient way to fire off autos or apply Smoke Cloud and stuff like that without having to Fortic auto attack. Pretty useful in my opinion. Keep in mind you have to target the ground with this. If you target the thing that you're attacking, it won't allow you to use that auto attack. Most of you guys are probably going to know this one, but for those of you that don't, this is going to be pretty useful. The altar is War's Retreat, resets your cooldowns on all of your abilities except a few, such as like the Staff of Armadillo spec. But if you have anything else, you've used Barricade, you've used anything over at the dummies or anything like that, and you need to reset it, you can just go to this altar and it will reset it for you. This is going to be useful in places like, for example, I go to Masuta and I always use Devotion to stall my adrenaline, which I don't need to do anymore because of the Zamarakian box, but I still do it, and then I don't have Devotion ready for when he spins and I pretty much die. So instead I teleport out, I reset my cooldowns on the altar here so I don't have to wait and I can get straight back in. This is pretty useful to know about, and if you didn't know it, then there you go. However, this is a two-part one because the crystals in War's Retreat, the adrenaline ones, actually have an extra effect as well. If you've used your adrenaline potion and it is on cooldown, using one of the adrenaline crystals in War's Retreat will not only give you more adrenaline to charge up, but it will actually reset the cooldown on your adrenaline potion as well. Of course, this is helpful for people doing speed kills and you've got a cooldown on your adrenaline potion, or for someone who's gone into a fight, used your adrenaline part at the wrong time by accident, had to teleport out to reset, and you don't want to just stand around and wait for your adrenaline potion to come back off the cooldown because you want to be able to use it at the right time again. So you can use these to reset both of them, and like I say, mostly common knowledge, but for those of you that didn't know, definitely worth knowing about. Finally, for those of you who are doing Reaper tasks, and if you're not, you should be doing them. I don't really do them as much as I should be, but they are definitely worth it. Anyway, you can buy a buff from Death called the Reaper's Choice. What does this do? Well, let me tell you. Whenever you get a Reaper task from Death, you will have a random chance to be able to select which boss you want to do. So normally you talk to Death and you say, give me an assignment, and he sends you off to kill something stupid like the Arglacior. Who wants that boss? Not me. Screw that boss. However, if you have the Reaper's Choice, sometimes it'll pop up with a window and you can actually just pick the boss from the list of bosses that you want to have the assignment on. Of course, some bosses give more points than others, but also you're just going to probably fancy doing a different boss some days than some of the other ones instead. It's definitely a nice little addition to have. And if you already have a boss in mind that you want to grind that day, you get your task and you get to pick it, it feels even better. You get yourself some Reaper points and you get some Slayer XP, and you're still killing the same boss that you planned to do in the first place. First up, we're going to be talking about Nex. For you guys that are learning this boss, or maybe you're actually already doing this boss, but you struggle with phase 2. Recently, I went back and watched one of my old videos when I was doing Nex, and quite a few people were surprised in the comments of that video that you can actually stop Nex from chasing you around the room if just before phase 2, you switch to a melee helmet and melee boots. I do believe they have to be of a certain tier, so for example, if you're using Serenic, you're going to want to be using Laceration boots and a malevolent helmet or better. What this does is it puts you outside of the range of where Nex will decide to melee you instead of just ranging you from a distance, and so that she won't chase you around the room doing the typeless tick damage. Of course, if she does stay in melee distance and you don't kite her and stay away, you will constantly take the typeless damage, which can kill you very quickly or take a lot of food, especially for learners. So for someone who is maybe wanting to make it a little bit more chill, if you chuck on some Laceration boots and malevolent helmet just before you go into phase 2, she will not do this, making the fight a lot easier for you. This is an old trick, of course, and it's still better in my opinion to just wear full Serenic or whatever you're wearing and just kite her if you can. But if you're on Revolution and you struggle to kite someone while using full manual, then this definitely could be a better option for you. Just remember after phase 2 though, as you go into the blood phase, to swap back to your other things so that you're not splashing or losing DPS through the blood phase and the rest of the kill. Next up, we are going to be talking about defense abilities. Now, this is important to know about because a lot of bosses require defense abilities, like to actually be able to even, to actually be able to even get through them. It makes your life a hell of a lot easier to understand your defense abilities, and I have talked about this many, many times. However, that is not the specific thing we're talking about today. I'm just going to say, learn your defense abilities. No. What I wanted to talk about is your defense abilities that require a shield actually scale depending off of the tier of the shield. So for example, if you're using a tier 90 shield, you are going to be getting the best out of that as of right now in game. Tier 90 is the highest level of shield that you can get, and certain defense abilities such as resonance, for example, will scale depending on the shield. So it says here, heal for 50% to 100% blocked based on the level of shield equipped. And obviously you need to keep this in mind because if you're a low level player and you're using a low level shield, you're not going to get as much out of it. But if you are a high level player and you're taking a shield that, I don't know, say you took a tier 50 shield because you didn't know this, you will be getting a lot more out of your resonance from using a high level shield. Now the same goes for barricade as well. The duration of barricade scales off of your shield. So if you have a low level shield, you are going to have a 4.8 second barricade, as you can see here. But if you have a high level shield, then you're going to get 10.2 seconds. Now this is a huge difference. Obviously, if you are going to be trying to use barricade for a reason and you want to survive longer, using barricade on a shield will give you a much longer time. Mine's above that because of Turtling 4, the perk, but using a tier 90 shield is incredibly important. Now what I want to mention real quick is, of course, the tier 90 shields, the one that I have, for example, the Merciless one or the Malevolent ones or whatever, can be quite pricey. But because it's the tier that counts, you can actually just grab yourself an Elder Rune shield from the Grand Exchange for about 84k. And they will buy for this as well. I'll quickly buy one and you can see that they will actually buy. These are super cheap. 85k, tier 90 shield. Obviously, it gives a little bit less armor and life bonus than what you would expect from your thing, from your Merciless one. But it still gives you the effect of the level 90, and you're only going to be using it for a second. Now you're going to chuck it on, you're going to use resonance, and then you're going to take it off in most situations. And one thing to throw in here with this as well is a defender, which a lot of people opt to use instead, actually do a reduced amount of effect than a shield will. So if you're using a defender, then you can use your dual wield abilities still, and you'll get more damage out of it. But if you use things like resonance, you'll get less of a heal than you will if you're using an actual shield. And you'll get less duration of barricade if you're using a defender than you will using a shield as well. The next thing we're going to mention, a lot of people when I showed this on stream a while ago was very surprised about it, and I thought, it's actually worth mentioning in this video. This is on by default, but when you teleport to places, does your game look a bit like this? Obviously, we need to wait for my guy to actually teleport because I'm apparently too poor to have any visible extra quick teleports. But when we go, you're going to see that there is a loading screen here. It says loading map, and then you got to wait, and then you actually get there. If your game looks like this, to make the games feel more smooth on a higher end PC, of course, you can actually go into settings, go to graphics, and then go down to loading screens. If you untick this, whenever you teleport somewhere, you're going to see that it is a lot more smooth, because what it will do is you will go straight away, then it will load around you as you appear. This makes the thing a hell of a lot more smooth, and of course it is definitely worth doing. I think having the loading screen kind of takes away from the immersion just a little bit. So we're going to teleport back to Lumbridge now while we do this. But keep in mind, if you have a lower end PC, maybe you lag a little bit, it may still be worth having loading screens on, as it will load the actual area for you before you go in, reducing the amount of lag that you have between the transitions. But as you can see, makes it feel a lot more smooth, and also it's a bit quicker. You can get going a bit quicker than you would if you had loading screens on as well. So if you didn't know this, go into settings, go to graphics, scroll down and untick loading screens, and you are absolutely good to go. One for you guys that have just designed your UI. Now, as you can see, I have my UI around the side of my screen here, and my character is still central to my screen. But that means that this section of my gameplay is actually cut off, and I can't see what I would normally see. For example, if I unlock this and I move this window out of the way here, you're going to see that there's actually a bit of the game that is hidden. So technically I'm losing that field of view, right? And I can't see that bit. Anything behind my thing is hidden. Now, a lot of people would actually say, that this is bad and you should change it, I'm going to show you how to do that. If you didn't know how to do this, then you can actually get a bit of your perspective back. I prefer to still have my character central to my screen so that when I'm playing, I am looking directly at my character in the middle and not somewhere off to the side a little bit. But depending on how your UI is built, this could be definitely something you can do. Go to edit layout mode, and then while you're in here, go into advanced options as well. Then you're going to want to scroll right down and until you find the actual thing that shows the gameplay area. So if we come all the way down, you can see that it says game view. Tick game view, and then you can see that there's another little box here at the top. Now this is movable now. So if we actually move all this stuff out of the way, we can now move our game view in to our UI. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit weird and it seems weird to be doing, but it's happening and I can move this, meaning anything behind my UI now can then go back and all that area that I would have missed before will now be included. But the only thing I don't like about this, as I will show you in just a second, is now my character is not central. So now I've got my area, everything's good. It just feels weird to me, dude. My character's not central anymore. I can see the full game view now. It's absolutely fine. My character seems a little bit off center to me, and a lot of people prefer it like this because you don't lose any like field of view whatsoever. But personally, I can't do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know, dude. It's really, really weird. So I'm gonna put it back to how it was. But yeah, if you prefer it the other way around, then this is something you can definitely do. I just prefer to have it like this. We're going to be talking about armor and how it works per different types of armor that you have in the game. This is quite important to know for people who are getting into PvM and maybe you want to start climbing the ladder and you actually want to understand how armor actually works. I've mentioned this to a few people. They're surprised about how it works. So I think a few of you guys, be honest in the comments, a few of you guys probably won't have known this exactly. Maybe you had an idea about it. Yeah. This is talking about how some certain parts of armor will not actually reduce your damage that you take in PvE directly. It does overall, but directly. Now, in the game, we have different types of armor. We have PvP armor, we have hybrid armor, we have power armor, and we have tank armor. We're going to just not really talk about the other ones as they're fairly irrelevant as of right now, but we're going to talk about the power armor and the tank armor differences. Now, on these armor pieces, you have the actual stat for armor. As you can see, it says the Tectonic Robe top has 526 armor. What happens when you equip this is it doesn't actually reduce the amount of damage you're going to take for a power armor set. It just reduces the chance that you're going to get hit by the actual thing that's hitting you. If you're being hit by, say, Telos, as an example, wearing armor will mean you have a higher chance of not being hit by that target. But if you have no armor on, and you have a full set of power armor on in two different instances, a hit for 1000 damage will still hit you for 1000 damage no matter what. If you have no armor on or you have a full set of power armor on, that will still do 1000 damage. It's just that if you have the full set of power armor on, you have a better chance of avoiding being hit. However, when it comes to tank armor, this is where damage reduction actually comes into play. So I'm going to open up the stats thing here, the combat stats, and you're going to see in my backpack I've got my Elite Tectonic and I've got my Crippling armor. If we look at the bottom here, we're going to see damage reduction PvE and damage reduction PvP. Ignore PvP, doesn't matter, who cares, dead content, whatever. But if you look at the damage reduction for PvE, we have 8.5%. Now if I wear my Crippling armor, you're going to see that we go all the way up to 13.9%. This is because we have tank armor on, so armor does the hit chance, but it also does the damage reduction as well. But if we take this off, we're going to bring ourselves back down to 8.5%, and when we put the Tectonic armor on, this isn't going to change. The PvP changes still, but the PvE version doesn't do a difference. That is because you aren't going to get any damage reduction from this because it's power armor. So keep in mind that that is not what this does. If you're thinking, I've just upgraded from a different armor set to tier 90 or tier 92 power armor, and I'm still taking just as much damage. The hits are still doing the same thing. They won't change. Only thing that's going to change is how often you get hit. The damage reduction itself only applies when wearing tank gear in PvE. Okay, number one in this video is for you guys that like to take advantage of your bonfire boost, or your campfire boosted water treat. Now, for those of you that don't know, you can actually come to war here and you can upgrade your campfire here, and you can get it all the way up to the better logs, and you can get more of a boost out of it. Okay, So you want to do that if you take advantage of this, but that isn't the whole thing of what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is, for people who do like to do this, the way it works is once you warm your hands at this fire or any other fire, you end up getting a total life points boost. And this can be useful in PvM, of course, and it can save you with some mechanics and make life a little bit easier on tanking certain things. But did you know that if you warm your hands at a campfire while wearing tank armor, things that increase your actual maximum HP, you will get a bigger bonus out of it? So for example, if I come over to this campfire now and warm my hands without any armor on whatsoever, you can see that my total health is now on 10,605 rather than the 10,100 it was on before because of the bonfire boost. However, if I equip my tank armor first, which actually gives me a boost, so for example my Crypt Bloom armor, I've got my Reef Walker's cape here and all that sort of stuff as well, and then I reapply this buff here, we are going to get the boost that we would have got before as well, and it's going to refresh it. But then if we chuck back on our regular gear just like before, and we make sure the bonfire is showing accurately, you can see my health is now at 10,746. Now the reason for this is when you apply the bonfire buff, it actually takes into account the extra health that you have equipped on your character at the same time. So it's a 5% buff of your current max HP will now increase again. So basically, if you wear the bonus HP stuff when you apply the buff, you end up giving yourself a bigger boost, even if you then change to regular gear as well. So what you want to do, and the reason I have this on my banking preset, is I will lower banking preset, I will apply the buff here in tank gear with the bonus health stuff on the cape and everything like that, and then when I equip my regular gear again, I get to keep those bonuses. And this is a bug at the moment, but if you see there, I get to keep those bonuses and I get a little bit of extra out of it. So this is something you could take advantage of. If you didn't know, now you do. Okay, our next thing is going to be taking us to good old Fort Furin 3. Well, I say good old, it's actually brand new, so it's not good old whatsoever. But we are going to be talking about the good old skilling locations, the portable skilling locations. This is where people use them these days, and we do have a few down here for us to take a look at, so I can explain this to you. Now, the portable locations are incredibly useful because they give you benefits while you are using that station. So, for example, with a portable well, you'll get things like, I think, 1, you make the potions quicker. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure you do. But also 2, you get the chance at saving your ingredients, making an extra potion, so you can make more potions out of the ingredients that you've got, which is absolutely awesome. So you want to be using these when you're coming and using these skills. You've got a Fletcher here, we've got a range as well, and this will work for any of the locations that you can actually do this on. The range may be the exception because you may have to interact with it. But that being said, if you are someone who likes to use keybinds to load your preset and then use the actual thing you're making, so maybe you'll have the herb keybound or whatever, or something keybound to be able to actually craft it, for example arrowheads. This could be more convenient than going into here, loading a preset, which obviously isn't going to be the right preset, and then clicking on the well, and then mixing the potion, and then loading this, and then clicking back on the well. The only time you need to really interact with this well is the first time when you get here. So once you've arrived and you've actually stood next to the bank, you want to load your preset and then interact with the well and click the potion you want to make. Once you've done that, you can just use the bank, load your preset up, and then mix from your inventory or mix from your action bar with a keybind, and then you will still get the benefits from the actual location so long as you don't move away. Once you've moved away, you will then have to re-interact with the well again, but as long as you've stayed here and you're in the actual range of the thing, you've not interrupted it, you'll be able to continue on using this, saving yourself a pretty like a bit amount of time or convenience, I suppose, for certain things. Obviously with the range, you're going to have raw food, you're going to have to interact with the range every single time, but for like potions, for herb lore, anything you can make a actual keybind out of, you can definitely just do it like this, and it's pretty damn convenient. Number 3 is going to take us back towards the Grand Exchange, and this is just something that's kind of interesting, and not too many people probably would have known about this, or at least I don't think so, but I guess we'll find out. Let me know in the comments if you knew about this one or not. But just around here, from the Grand Exchange, on the west side of the Grand Exchange, there is this little building here, and this little campsite, right? But this rock, oh wait, is it this rock, or is it must be a different rock? Wait, where's the rock? There's a rock that you can cook on. Now, I think it is this rock, but maybe I have to bring the food with me. So let me grab some food and we'll be back in just a second. So if we bring our raw fish back here now, and you can see here, there is the rock here. We're going to use our raw rock tail on this rock. And look at that, it says, can you smell what the rock is cooking? And it opens up a cooking interface. And on this rock, you can then cook your fish or your whatever you want to cook here. It's, I don't know. It's interesting, but I've known about this for a little while. I have mentioned it in a video in the past, but I'm pretty sure not too many people, especially newer players, wouldn't know about this. But I'm curious, is this attached to some sort of like lore in the game, or is it just like a bit of a joke, or is there actually something like a bit of reasoning behind this? Maybe like, is there a reference to something? If there is, then let me know in the comments about this. But yeah, you can cook on this rock here. Not that you would really want to, but you can. And did you know this, or did you not? Either way, it's pretty interesting. Number 4 is going to take us to Tavali. I believe it is Tavali, the place where we can do some summoning. It is beautiful. I think, I hope. Yes, it is. Okay, good. Right, so normally if you're going to do summoning, you would come here to Tavali and you would come down to the summoning shop over here. Now, what you would do is you would get your supplies from the bank, and then you would get your shards and your pouches and all that sort of stuff and your charms, and you would run from the bank to the shop, and then you would infuse your pouches, right? And you would come here and you would infuse them here at the obelisk, and then you would run back to the bank your stuff, and get the supplies back and redo this. However, did you know that you can actually trade a summoning shop person, and when you sell things to him, you can then buy them back, but this stock isn't shared? So if I, for example, sell all these rocktails here, and then I go to the shop, you can see there is rocktails at the bottom here. 23 of my rocktails are here, and I can buy them back from him from the actual shop price, which is actually pretty cool. So we can actually bring supplies here. For example, if you're using normal summoning ingredients, you can bring supplies here, you can sell them to him and then buy them back, and then you can sell the pouches to him that you make and then buy the ingredients back again as well. However, these pouches here, the shards as well, and of course your charms, all stack in your inventory. So you can have a ton of these in here, and then you can also have your charms in here as well. And then all you would do is you would infuse your pouches at the obelisk, then you would trade this person and sell your pouches back, and then buy your ingredients back. However, it is worth mentioning and important to note, to be fair, that your supplies in here will gradually drop over time. As you can see, we did actually sell 23 rocktails, but there is now only 22, and we haven't bought any back. So over time, you are going to lose some money here, and this is way more expensive than if you did it the other way as well. But if you just want this really, really quickly, you want to get through it nice and quick, as you can see, it's now down to 21, you can do this, and you can get the summoning XP like this is absolutely crazy. So you sell the ingredients that you want to do here, and then you buy them back, and you make the pouches, and then you sell the pouches back to him, and then you get your ingredients back, and then that's all you do. You don't need to run back and forth or anything. You just need to do it just like this. And this is how I would do it now. To be fair, it's more expensive, but it is so much faster. Holy crap, it is so much faster, and it's just more convenient. But if you didn't know about this, well then, if you have the extra little bit of money and you'd rather save time than money, there's definitely something you can take advantage of. The final thing I'm going to mention in this video is something that I use a hell of a lot now, but actually didn't realize was available to me quite a while ago. I use it like a lot now, and I've known about it for a while, but I did remember just today that I actually had to get told about this from chat. So what we're going to do is we are going to go, maybe we'll just go through here to go to this area. But the reason we're going to do this is because I want to be able to kill something out here. Now, what you can actually take advantage of and use, and is super helpful and actually really awesome, is the drop tracker. So if you come down here on your actual bar and you go down to rune metrics, now the normal rune metrics, you do get a few like things out of this, but there is a premium version. But included in the free thing is the drop tracker. So if you click on this, you're going to get a window here that will track all of your drops and how many of the drops you get that you actually get from when you reset it. So down the bottom here, there's a reset button that would wipe it out, which I've just done. Then you got the settings and the area loot thing in here. So in here, you've got an area loot button, which would open up, if there's anything in the area, it would open up the actual area loot. And you can actually use this as well to be able to loot stuff a lot easier than if you were going to run around and click on the things on the floor. But the main reason for this is if I put it down here, whenever I kill something, it is going to track that loot down there for me. So this is incredibly useful for content creation as well, but also it's just a really neat thing to be able to do. A lot of players in the game would really get a lot of like use out of this, and obviously once this guy is dead, you're going to see that the drops that go on the floor are going to be tracked here. So water up is 4 and the spirit dragon charm is 1. You don't have to pick them up, but you can toggle it so that it'll actually only do this when you do pick it up, or you can do it for when it does drop on the floor. So if you're trying to track on exactly what you would get from maybe killing all of these for an hour or something, or anything in the game for an hour, then you can definitely do this and it will track absolutely everything for you. That being said, what I like to do it for is if I'm going to do a boss or something and I just bank all the loot at the end and don't actually check about it, I can come back to this, and then when I go back through my bank, I can use this to actually see what stuff I got and what I need to take out of it. So this is actually a really useful tool. And if you guys didn't know about this, the rune metrics isn't all premium stuff. You can get the actual upgraded version of it, but there is still included some free things in here. So definitely take a look at it and see if it's got any use for you. The rune metrics is pretty useful, so yeah, take a look.
Something that I found pretty interesting lately, and that is a different way to play necromancy, I suppose, which takes you away from using the Majra aura, and it also takes you away from using anything that is crit related, so goodbye to grimoire. And that is using the equilibrium aura and actually pairing it with the new occultist ring, because this works pretty well and actually could maybe be better DPS than using Majra in some places, and I am going to be going out of my way to test this as much as possible over the next few streams. I'm going to test it out at loads of different bosses, and then I'll make a full video on how this works so that you guys kind of understand whether this is better, or if it is better in some places then not necessarily in others, and where you can actually take advantage of it. But a few benefits from this is, one, the equilibrium aura is pretty damn easy to get. It only costs 23,000 loyalty points, and it is a tier 2 aura, meaning it can be reset very easily. But you're probably not going to need to reset it, because another benefit to this is you can extend this thing by a hell of a long time for up to 4 hours per use, and it is only 40 Viswax to do that. So the actual duration of equilibrium aura is 2 hours originally in the first place. You can extend it by a further 2 hours for 40 Viswax, which is completely like the same amount of Viswax that you would get for 30 minutes from like Maniacal or something like that. See, Viswax, rather than getting you 30 minutes, is getting you another 2 hours. Basically, if you're going to log on for like a pretty decent session of RuneScape, you could pop on your equilibrium aura, extend it for 2 hours, and then you've got a 4-hour time slot there where you don't even need to worry about your aura anymore. The reason this aura is pretty good is it will give you an increase of 12% ability damage. However, it does prevent you from critically striking. So you kind of have to weigh up the costs here. So you're not going to be using Grimoire. You probably don't want to use like biting if you have it, but if you do have it, like don't remove it, you know, like just keep it, it's fine. And of course, don't use a Calgarian Demon because again, you're not going to critically strike. However, from what I've tested so far, this is either on par or maybe even better in some situations, or maybe just like a tiny little bit like not as good. We'll have to test it out, but for now it's worth knowing about because it is definitely a viable option for a lot of people. Again, I'll do a full video on this, so expect more soon. Next up, I wanted to talk about a little bit of Carapac. I have been doing a lot of Carapac lately because I still want to complete my log. As you can see on screen, it's a bit of a joke. Most of these were solos. I only have 3 staff pieces and still yet to see a jazz book. Jagex, please give me the frickin' book. However, because I've done so many Carapac kills now, I have picked up a few things that is probably worth talking about. One of them specifically for this video is the last phase. Something that I take advantage of a lot is every time you jump into a clone, which you're going to do, as soon as you go into phase 4, you jump into one of the 3 clones, you will take that clone's current health. So as soon as the phase starts, you jump in, you're going to get a full heal, which means you can either not use food just before that phase starts because you're going to heal up anyway, or if you're using something like necromancy, you can use life transfer and then jump into the clone and basically use life transfer for free, which extends your conjures and usually costs you 50% of your health. So I've now recently started using life transfer and then jumping into the clone because it just extends your conjures for absolutely free and is definitely something worth doing.
But either way, this mechanic is worth knowing about if you do a lot of care pack, because on that last phase, if your health is getting a little bit low, don't spam eat your food, just jump into the clone and you're nice and full health. Another weird thing that a lot of people do, and you can actually take advantage of, is if you vit pot the clone and then jump into another one, that clone won't lose the vit pot effect, it will stay at 20,000 health. You'll drop down to 5k when the vit pot expires because you've jumped into another one, but the other clone is going to tank 20,000 damage. And weirdly, if you jump back into the clone, you'll actually get the full amount of health that it has left, even if it's 15, 16k, and that won't expire either as long as your vit pot's already expired. Pretty strange, but thought I'd mention it anyway. Unintentionally talking about necromancy a lot in this video, so the last two I'll try and avoid being necromancy related whatsoever, but if you are starting a fight with necromancy and you've already reconjured all your stuff, like you pre-cast everything, you can use the skeleton command ability just before the boss is targetable. This will mean that when it starts attacking, it'll already have that little buff where he'll attack quicker, because the way the skeleton works is he will do more damage every time he attacks. Like when he attacks, he'll increase his rage stacks, and then his damage increased by 3% for each rage stacks. So if you precast this, it doesn't cost you a global cooldown, and it allows your skeleton to sort of build up that damage, giving you even more value later on in the fight. Now there may be some times where you want to precast something else, like Split Soul maybe, but even then, just precast this one tick before you use Split Soul, start the fight off, use Split Soul before the boss is available, and then you get that extra damage out of it. It's definitely worth doing. Something I get asked a hell of a lot during stream, so I figured I would throw it into this video, is what incense sticks are you using? Or they'll ask the same question, but in different ways, in the sense of, Init, why are your overloads like 8 minutes? What's going on? Why am mine only 6 and yours are 8? And all this sort of stuff. The incense sticks that I use during combat are the Lanterdime incense sticks, the Spiritweed incense sticks, and the Quorm incense sticks. You can have 3 going at once, so I choose these 3. And the reason that I do this is Lanterdime ones will increase my potion timers, so the duration of any potions that already last over 6 minutes. So overloads, super prayer renewals, this sort of thing will all get extended by a couple of minutes as well. Now this may not always be worth doing because it depends on which potion you're using, whether it saves GP, but I like to do this because I hate making overloads. I would rather spend a little bit of extra GP to have to make overloads less often. So if I can extend each dose by 2 minutes each and then make sure I only renew the overload like when it's getting close to expiring, it just means that I'm using maybe a few less doses here and there, but that adds up over time a lot. Like if you're using 1,000 overloads and you've saved a few like sips or doses here and there across that whole time, you're gonna save like probably a couple of hundred potions. Maybe that's not quite how much, but you're gonna save a little bit of time. So I do like using these to extend the potion timers, but also in places like Zook and stuff, it's really nice where the fight's longer than 1 dose. Like these help out a lot. The next one that I use a lot is the Quorm incense sticks. Now, of course, I won't use this all the time because what these do is they increase the amount of poison damage that you will be able to deal by a decent amount too. So if you can deal any sort of poison damage, if you're using Cinderbanes, if you're using weapon poison, stack these with it as well to increase the amount of poison damage you can do. This is just free, easy DPS output. You don't even use it in the fight, you just use it before you go in, overcharge it and like extend it an hour without having to do anything about it. You get extra damage. Again, these are only worth using if the target is poisonable, of course, but otherwise, yeah, it's definitely worth using. As for the last one, the Spiritweed incense sticks, it's going to give my familiars summoning spell points, increased summoning rate. So it just means that maybe you'll get off an extra spec during a fight or a few extra specs. So it's an extra little bit of DPS. And again, I'm not really doing anything about it. If you're using like a Ripper Demon, then use this. If you're using like a Calgarian Demon, probably not really a big deal because the Calgarian Demon doesn't struggle with like the its ability points, but a Ripper Demon can fire off that attack loads of times, so definitely worth keeping in mind. As for incense sticks as a whole though, there's so many different effects, and if you haven't had to scroll through them, go to the incense sticks wiki page and just have a scroll through, because you may be like, holy crap, wait, that's going to be super useful for me, I'm going to use this one. So have a look, they're pretty interesting. The final thing I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with combat, which is probably surprising for you guys, but yeah, there we go. This one is you can move the UI around a hell of a lot, and everybody knows this, and that's not specifically what we're talking about. But there's a lot of things in game where you're going to be doing interactions where you're clicking on like a bank chest or you're clicking on like something to open it, and it's a pain. You have to click on something, move your mouse from the little window, and the little pop-up window is over in a different place. You can move all of these windows. So for example,
you're going to be able to see me on screen right now fletching arrowheads. Now, this is a pretty crappy example, but you'll get the idea. Whenever you click on the headless arrows to bring up the window, you then get a second prompt window for you to click the button to how many you want to tip, right? And then that'll be in a different place than where you've clicked the arrows. But you can just unlock your interface, drag the actual window over the top of the tip headless arrows, like the headless arrows in your inventory. And then when you left click, you can left click again and it'll immediately do that for you. Like you won't have to actually worry about it. It's just going to be there. So all you now need to do is just click, click, and then wait, and now it's done. Now, again, for headless arrows, this is pretty like terrible explanation because you could just keybind it and press spacebar to do the thing. But for some things like maybe alchemist keys, this can be super useful because it's just click, 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 click over and over again, rather than having to actually move your mouse around. So you can move the user interface around to benefit you. And there's other things as well that you could do to benefit from affecting this. So if you're ever thinking like, oh man, I wish this button was over here. Oh, wait, hold on. You can just move it. So keep it in mind. You'll probably have some times where you're like, this is going to be way better. And you've reached the end of this one. There's actually another like 2 hours of these that I could pop together if you guys wanted to. So let me know in the comments if you did get this far. And also if you did get this far, or if you watched the majority of it and you've got to the end here to see what the ending is, I would appreciate it if you guys could click the sub button. It would help the channel out a ton. And I mean, you've watched the entire video or you've watched a ton of the video. So it's definitely worth subscribing for more. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.